Okay, we are back in action. Most of the people back again. Ah, whiteboard. New. I never saw that before. Share notes. Okay. Seems to be some new features in Zoom. So, welcome back. It was a big mistake. I thought I will take a nap before we start our new Zoom meeting. That was a big mistake. So, still waking up. Okay, so I want to just a little bit later on today, we'll write down a couple of paragraphs to explain what Vipassana meditation is. The notes that we did before, you can use or not use, up to you. These are the different ideas that we had. One thing that all of you kept coming back to was to see the three characteristics. It seems that you are very insistent that the three characteristics is a key part of Vipassana. I think the biggest, or the way that Vipassana is usually described, certainly in Thailand, is they want to distinguish Vipassana from Samadhi meditation. So the way that is usually described in Thailand is that all religions and non-religions too have the practice of samadhi or concentration, but not all religions have the practice of vipassana. So this comes from the Buddhist the part of the Buddhist story which says that the Buddha in his younger days went and practiced concentration meditation with two teachers, Udaka Ramaputta and Alara Kalama, and that having practiced concentration with these teachers, he found that it still could not get him to enlightenment. And then later on, after he'd practiced ascetic practices, torturing himself and starving, then he sat underneath the Bodhi tree, and there it was that he practiced vipassana. Is interesting because in the original texts, the practice that he did underneath the Bodhi tree was supposed to be a mindfulness of breathing that he had experienced one time spontaneously as a child. However, the sutras describe the 3 nights of the watch as being the first part of the evening, the Buddha remembered his past lives. And so remembering his past lives, it broke his attachment to the self, to this particular life, this particular story. The second part of the night, he examined heavens and hells and the beings who arise and pass away in the heavens and hells. And the third part of the night, he saw the end of the asava. Now, the asava means usually translated as an outflowing, but it can also mean a flood, osaka, I think the word is, flooding up or flooding out or flooding in. Asava are 3 or sometimes 4 in number. The asava of sense desire, sense desire of the mind flowing out to the senses, the asava sense of self, and the asava, the sense of becoming, being, and sometimes added the 4th, which is the asava or outflowing of views and opinions. So on these 3 nights, 3 watches of the night, you'll notice these 3 supernormal powers or super mundane insights are actually stem from concentration, not vipassana. So we have this interesting question then arises, especially if you look at Tibetan Buddhism, and we will look at that a little later on today or tomorrow. Vipassana is something that you do after having practiced concentration meditation. Other schools say that you could practice vipassana without concentration meditation. Some people, I've even seen it taught amongst vipassana schools, that concentration meditation will be a hindrance to practicing vipassana. Some of my own teachers have said that to me, that you should never practice concentration because it will block or hinder your meditation. Now, I don't want to tell you which of these is right or which of these is wrong. It really depends on the school that you're in and your own viewpoint. As a scholar, we should be interested in all of the different viewpoints. Sometimes in a monastery, our role is to choose a certain practice and a certain tradition and say, this is the way we do it. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But as a scholar, as a university student, what we should be interested in is what all these different takes or approaches to meditation are. Why do some schools say you should never practice concentration? Some say you can practice concentration, but it's not necessary. Some say it's necessary to do concentration first. And others say that jhana or concentration states will come later. Our job is to practice mindfulness. So these are interesting questions, and there are a number of suttas which have which talk about this particular dichotomy. So I'm not my job to tell you which way to think, but I want to raise this point because there are a lot of interesting discussions to be had on exactly how vipassana and how samadhi relate to each other, and whether they are both necessary or whether you only need vipassana on its own. So these are interesting discussions. For my own personal practice, I would say definitely that deep samadhi or jhana practice is necessary for the path, but it's a difficult practice to do. And so usually we start with vipassana or mindfulness practices, so that we can understand the teachings in the right way. So this split, this difference between vipassana and samadhi and concentration is something that is a very relevant part of the discussion. So whenever we talk about vipassana, I think we also have to talk about samadhi or concentration, particularly as samadhi, samma samadhi, is part of the Eightfold Path. We cannot ignore it. And we need to be able to distinguish between the samadhi practice, concentration practice, and a vipassana practice. Now, vipassana, I don't know what you think, but vipassana in certainly Theravada Buddhism is almost synonymous, almost the same word as sati or sati sampajanya, mindfulness practice. If you think that vipassana is one thing and mindfulness is a different thing, then you're welcome to say so. I would be interested in that viewpoint. But for most people that I've come across, when we start talking about actual practice, we tend to separate into samadhi and sati practice. So we will come on to sati shortly. Have a question with, is sati on its own a thing, samma sati, or is it sati sampajanya together? How many kinds of sati or mindfulness are there? These are interesting questions. But first of all, we need to discuss and define and work out the word samadhi and what that actually means. Only when we have defined samadhi can we start to define vipassana practice, because it is because the Buddha practiced samadhi meditation early on in his career, and it did not get him to enlightenment. So the question is, what is samadhi? I'd also be interested to know what is the word samatha? And I tell you why I'm interested in this. Okay, I've shared the screen now with the text document. I'm presuming you can see the text document. If you can't, let me know. I've asked many people, what is the difference between samadhi and samatha? And everybody has a different answer. I've asked some really good scholars, and they all look at me as if I'm crazy and like, well, everybody knows the difference. And then they will say something that's different to every other person. So personally, I'm interested in this question. What is the difference between samadhi and samatha? Are they different or are they the same? Anyway, so for the purposes today, we're going to count these two words to be pretty much the same thing, samadhi and samatha. But if you have a interesting discussion or thought on these two words, I would be interested to hear it. So, in order to explain meditation or teach meditation to people, we need to be able to distinguish between these different kinds of practice. So what is samadhi? Can anybody give some ideas?
Okay, let me try.
Please go ahead.
For me, samadhi is the development of mind state to train your mind to be focused, uh, concentrate, and calm.
Sorry, what was the last word? Concentrated and
Calm,
calm. Okay.
calm.
Okay. Um, when I'm reading a book, my mind is concentrated, focused, and calm. So when I'm reading a book, am I practicing samadhi?
Mm, mm, no.
No. Okay, why
Yeah.
not?
Mm, you you have a lot of thinking. So, but again, you have a good point, and for because for those can be focused and concentrate, and maybe some of them can also be calm. So I guess I missed some point. It should be specific or particular should be focused or focus on like some objects or one object.
So focus on one object.
Yeah.
But what do you mean by object? Surely my book is an object.
No, it's uh, like uh, the breathing and breathing out. This is the object. So the other um, breathing. Yeah, those objects it should be just on mind and body. Yeah, as as I know so far. Yeah, all is related to mind. Oh, maybe some of them not because some mm, like you what does that called? The 10 practice the 10 colors? Like a
Casino.
right yeah, because that is not mind and body
So you
because
have
that
colors and light.
yeah yeah
And
because that use the outside object and then but you keep that in mind and then to be concentrate and then develop the deep concentration. Mm. So yeah, and here the object should be clarified.
so the object should be clear cut.
Mm.
Well, we've got the topic in here of objects. So breathing, mind, body, casinas. Other objects? Uh,
Subhamida, loving and kindness.
so the Brahma Viharas.
Yeah, it can be because those can develop four jhanas.
Okay, now we've got another concept.
Yeah,
Four jhanas.
yeah. If I remember correctly, some of the sutta says the samadhi should be four jhana, but this is one uh, yeah one opinion, but maybe the other I'm not sure. Yeah, you can hear some more.
Yeah, the whenever the suttas mention concentration, they always mention jhanas.
Yeah,
Uh, however, remember you're trying to explain to a 14-year-old school kid what is samadhi meditation. And
okay,
now we've got
actually,
kasinas and brahma viharas and jhanas. And so we've gone a long way from explaining clearly. Uh, I think we've got, though, in what you said, we've got most of the details. We just need to find a right way to explain it. Anyone else got something to add to our list? Go ahead, please.
Yes, I will add the unification of mind in one object. And to make a difference between vipassana and samadhi, I will say that samadhi or samatha will take any object, but not all the objects will show the three characteristics. For this, I mean concept. A concept can be an object, an idea, but that concept and that idea will not show the three characteristics.
But any idea or concept that arises in the mind, surely that is impermanent?
Yes, you have a point. There is an answer, but
Okay.
It's a difference between concept and final realities. If the idea, it's not easy to explain.
Well, that's the problem. It should be easy to explain.
Yes, I have to find the right words to put it simple.
If we have a school kid comes to us and we're talking to a classroom full of kids and they say, what is concentration? We need to find a way that is easy to explain.
Yes.
Right. That's the task that we are doing here. Again, I just repeat, I know that all of you have practiced meditation and concentration and vipassana. I know that you know these things. Our difficulty is the problem of being able to explain these things. So that's what we're doing in this class. Okay, but you brought up one important point, unification onto an object, which means unification of the mind with the object, yeah, which is a central part of concentration meditation. Okay, somebody else? You've got a few ideas here, but can somebody else just explain to me in clear, simple terms? I'm a school kid, I've come to you and I've asked you, well, what is samatha? Or what is samadhi? Tell me what it is. Go ahead.
สมาธิพระอาจารย์พระบัณฑิตสมาธิ is a state of mind in deep concentration where the body and mind are working as a single entity.
Okay.
And it's the way of practice to taking control of the mind. So that the mind have a single focus, not jumping like a monkey mind.
Okay. Not the monkey mind or the jumping mind. Okay. If you said to one of your kids, I know you have a daughter, I'm not sure you have a son as well, right?
Yes.
If you say, take control of the mind to not have a monkey mind, would they know what you're talking about?
we need to explain more that the nature of the mind is like a monkey, always run away. So practice samadhi is in order to put the monkey mind with the pose, not wandering. Yeah.
You want to tie your monkey down.
Yes.
You're going to shoot your monkey, or you want to kill your monkey. Okay. And taking control of the mind is an important point, I think, in all meditation. In fact, sati and samadhi involves taking control. Sometimes sati or mindfulness is talk about, well, we'll just observe or just have non-judgmental awareness. But that's not really true. If you practiced any kind of meditation, you have to take firm control of the mind. You can't just let your attention go wandering around. So I think taking control very definitely in samadhi. I also think it applies to mindfulness too, but that's an interesting discussion. Okay, we will look at the monkey mind, I think, in the original sutta, because it might not be what you think it is. Anybody else? Can you just somebody give me a nice, easy, clear description? What is samadhi meditation? Or are you all asleep after lunch? Yes, sir. Come on. Thank you.
And this when the newer simply newer samatha is to control our emotion. I mean emotional management like this.
Samatha, is that true for samadhi, controlling emotions?
Yeah.
Samatha.
By practicing samatha, we can control our emotion. We can control our sensual desire like this. This is a samatha.
I think sense desire is quite an important word. There's a big part of all meditation, but certainly samadhi. But if you say control emotion, surely that's what we do in psychology. That's what we teach our children, to control their emotions, but we're not teaching them samadhi, right? What do you think? Just now was Venerable Sobana, right? So I'm asking what.
Yeah, Pandit.
Of emotion. Surely that's something that ordinary people do.
Yeah, we can. We can reduce our emotion. We can control emotion, sexual desire. It's called. Sorry, I forgot English use it. It's called nivarana, Pandit. Nivarana.
Nivarana. Hindrance.
Yeah. Hindrance. Yeah, we can reduce hindrance.
Reduce hindrance or eliminate hindrances? According to the suttas, and you may know some different sutta to me, and I encourage you, if I make a mistake, to tell me. But as far as I remember, every time we find nivarana, you have to eliminate all five nivarana, all five hindrances. rather than reduce. It's not the case of reducing these hindrances in life, but you eliminate all 5 hindrances in that moment of concentration meditation. Only when the 5 hindrances are gone, then one can enter into jhana. I have a question though. Is samadhi and jhana the same? Like, can you have samadhi without jhana, or what is your view? If you guys can just give me 1 minute, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
What is jhana means, venerables? Anyone can share?
Wuchu, jhana is a kind of deep meditation. When people practice the meditation up until certain state, their mind will reach a kind of jhana state. Yeah.
Oh, like the ahanta.
No. That's called mắc phổn. Jhana is just only for meditation when the mind is state. Let's say the Buddha himself also attend the jhana, make the mind as a single focus on one thing only. Yeah, mind is come to be a stillness, still, stand still. I think they have a level of jhana. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
level
you.
ครับ
Okay, sorry, I had to go to the bathroom. So my question was, is samadhi jhana the same or is it different?
I think at some point it's the same, but a little bit different. Jhana, it's specific for it's talk about 4 states of jhana, but samadhi it's more wider. Like even you on the process, like before you enter jhana, but that still can call the samadhi.
That's Kanika samadhi, right?
I don't know the term, Pali.
There is a kind of concentration. I'm not actually sure if it's in the sutta or just a commentary, but it is. I can't remember the spelling now.
Carry.
Kanakat Samadhi.
Yes.
Kanika.
Yes. So, Pandit
Which
Subhana
means
and
momentary. So Kanika Samadhi means moment to moment concentration, but not jhana. So what's the difference? I think there's only the four of us awake here. Everyone else fell asleep after lunch. Somebody else give me. Yes, please.
My
understanding
is okay. Lady first.
Yes, ladies first.
Thank you. In my opinion, is samadhi develop jhana. I can say samadhi practice, powerful concentration, develop jhana state.
Samadhi will develop.
Yes, can develop
into jhana.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you can have samadhi without jhana, but you cannot have jhana without samadhi.
It's a powerful concentration as long as time, for a long time. Yes, we can develop jhana state. So samadhi is jhana is a little bit different, but a very relative relationship. And finally, I can say is a jhana state is close to the samatha practice.
It's close to. I tell you all honestly, I don't understand these two terms, samadhi and samatha. Are they the same or different? So I honestly, everybody I ask has a different viewpoint on this. And I've asked so many people that now my own head is confused. So let's focus on the word samadhi rather than samatha. Generally speaking, samadhi is translated as concentration.
Yeah, right, Pandit. Samadhi is a concentration. Vipassana is a wisdom. Vipassana is a wisdom. Samadhi is a concentration, like this.
Can you get wisdom from samadhi?
Yeah, we must base to the samadhi.
So, of course, even with samadhi practice, you can have wisdom, but there is definitely a difference in emphasis between vipassana, which we call insight, meditation, and samatha, which we call concentration. So the usual way certainly in Theravada, but also in Tibetan, I think, is to draw a distinction between these two different kinds of practice. Still, nobody gave me a good description. Just a nice, simple description.
Ajahn, I gave 3 metaphors in the chat box.
Okay. Samadhi is concentration.
I don't know whether it is correct, but this is my understanding.
So he said that samadhi is concentration like water flowing steadily from a water faucet. In English, we call that a tap. In America, you call it a faucet. I'm only saying this because I want to train everybody to use the English terms and not those American terms. We don't approve of American. Extra points if you use the English terms. he's shining the flashlight over an object, but the flashlight would be more like the word manasikara, attention. When you pay attention to something, that's like the flashlight. So right now I'm paying attention to the Zoom on my computer. That's like the flashlight shining my attention and fixing it onto the computer. And while I'm looking at the computer, I'm not listening to the noises outside my door. I'm not eating. I'm not focusing on my feet or my breathing. So the flashlight is like the word manasikara, which personally I think is a really important term, and crops up a lot in Buddhism, but it's manasikara is to pay attention to something, not necessarily with concentration. Samatha is like walking. Samadhi is how far you walk. Jhana is the quality of your walking. Well, you could say that the jhana is a quality of the concentration. Okay, anybody else can clear up this difficult problem that we have?
But actually, when we talk about the three categories, Sila, Samadhi, Panya, right? We don't say Sila, Samatha, Panya. We don't say Sila, Samadhi, Panya. We don't say Sila, Samatha, Panya, right? So Samadhi is just the concentration. So powerful concentration lead to the ultimate or insight meditation, in my opinion. A little bit different.
Yeah, Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. I'm not sure. Is Sati, is that part of Samadhi or part of the Panya? Yeah. Anybody else? Give me some. Just give me a nice, easy description for what is Samadhi. Because the next question we will work on is what is mindfulness. So we want to distinguish between mindfulness practice and Samadhi practice.
Pandit, let me try.
Yeah.
I think for Thai people, when we talking about samadhi or meditation, we know that they have two kind of samadhi. The first one we call is samatha. The purpose from samatha is to for calmness. And second samadhi is called vipassana. It's for the wisdom, the main purpose. I think so the samadhi in sila, samadhi, panya, samadhi here, my understanding is cover both samatha and vipassana.
Yeah, normally Sila, Samadhi, Panya is the shortening of the Eightfold Path.
Yep.
So in the Eightfold Path, you have Sati and Samadhi. I really can't remember if Sati is considered part of Samadhi or is considered part of Panya. But let's put aside Sila, Samadhi, Panya for the moment, because that's talking about things other than concentration. Our question is right now is what is Samadhi? What is concentration? And my question to you, okay, let me put the question another way. Some years ago, I went for my lunch. I was visiting a temple, and there was a Dekwat temple boy, and he's playing on the computer game. And the computer game was called Quake. I don't know if you remember this. It's an old game. And in it, you're running through a maze and you're shooting at people and blasting things and killing everything. And while he's playing this game, I need my lunch. So I came back after 10 minutes and he's still playing the game. I said, hey, go and get me my lunch. And he was like, yeah. And his tongue is out the side of his mouth and he's just playing the game, ignoring me. So I come back 10 minutes later, he's still playing the game. And eventually I come in and it's nearly 12 o'clock. So I turn the monitor off. And this kid's like, he's almost dazed. And then he stands up. He's not steady on his feet. And I said, hey, go and get me my lunch. Now, my question is, when the kid is playing the computer game, he has concentration on the computer game. Does he have samadhi?
In my opinion, yes, Ajahn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Ajahn, I have a question because it might related to samadhi or right samadhi. Is in the sutta distinguish both like yeah, just like you mentioned, some activities and when you concentrate and you have concentration, but it develops some ankusalas. So in Buddhism, and when we talk about the samadhi, it should be, with the kusala or like wholesome states. So usually we use right samadhi.
Okay, samadhi should be right samadhi and not, which means kusala, not akusala. Yeah, this will have an interesting discussion when we come to sati, whether you can have miccha sati or not. This is an interesting question. So there may be, according to what you are saying here, there may be some kinds of samadhi that are wrong, miccha samadhi. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, right.
So if we talk about samadhi, your idea is we should be clear that we are talking about samma samadhi or right concentration.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting idea. So maybe the kid playing the game maybe he has samadhi, but is miccha samadhi. Because for sure, he's not going to get enlightened playing the computer game. We cannot say that he is developing good spiritual qualities when he's playing a computer game. But I would question whether he has samadhi or not. Anybody else have an idea? This kid playing the game, does he have samadhi or not?
If we separate samma samadhi or miccha samadhi, and we just talk widely, just a samadhi, and yeah, we can say he had samadhi because he has a strong concentration. Yeah, but
okay, anybody else have an idea about this? Because I don't think we're quite on the right track yet, but that's just my opinion. Anybody else?
Bande, we can divide it to samadhi, Mesa samadhi and sama samadhi. It's a playing game is like a Mesa samadhi.
So playing games is like a miccha samadhi.
Right.
Right.
Fishing like this.
But can you attain to jhana by playing computer games?
No, Bande.
So it's not just samara and miccha. There's actually a difference. So what is the difference?
Because Bande, the purpose of samadhi is to reduce hindrance, sexual desire like this. It's a sama samadhi.
So the purpose of the samadhi is samma, right samadhi, to reduce hindrances. So by that saying, what you are saying is the boy has samadhi, but is the wrong kind of samadhi. Is that what you're saying?
Mesa Samadhi. This is called a Mesa Samadhi. It's a
Miccha.
playing game, fishing, like this, hunting.
Fishing, hunting, something. But is fishing
Yeah.
a kind of samadhi, right or wrong? I mean, I would dispute whether fishing actually is samadhi practice. Anybody else? Someone we haven't heard from yet, please give us your opinion. The boy
Because
playing,
when they like
yeah.
fishing, the purpose of fishing is to catch fish. It's made according to Abhidhamma. It's called greedy, hatred. I mean the dosa.
Lopa moha dosa, right?
Yeah, it's a dosa. Playing game is we can say according to Abhidhamma, it's called moha, delusion, like this. The real samadhi purpose is to reduce hindrance, to control. This is my understanding, Pandit.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you, but that would mean that playing the computer game or fishing or hunting is not a kind of samadhi. Anybody else? Do you have some idea? Is the boy playing the computer game? Is he practicing concentration? Is he practicing samadhi or not?
Pandit, I think back to what you start this morning, that all our people, when we discuss on this topic, we already know the topic. So we discuss that samadhi is samma samadhi. But for the normal people, the outside people, they don't aware of this such thing. So if we ask, most of the people understand that this boy should have a samadhi, because he focused on one thing. He focused on winning the game, and he ignore anything. He don't pay attention to anything apart from his mind have a single focus. So for me, I think for normal people, this is the samadhi. Yeah.
You make a good point, especially in Thailand, because the word samadhi in Thai means just to concentrate on. So if you are driving a car or playing a computer game, in the Thai word samadhi, that would mean you are concentrating on what you are doing, driving the car, fishing, or playing the game. That's definitely true in the Thai language. I'm not sure it's true in the Pali. Like, I never heard the Buddha describe some kind of action as being samadhi, other than meditation practice, sat cross-legged for jhana. That's the only time that the Buddha mentions samadhi. So I would definitely say in Thai language, what you're saying is completely correct. However, in terms of Buddhist concepts, what we're trying to explain is what is samadhi in the terms of Buddhist meditation. Somebody else?
Well, Ajahn, in China, we have a lot of Zen story. Like Zen master can do everything with samadhi, including play computer games, I believe. But the boy play computer game, his emotion, his mind status is not stable like the peaceful water, like the Zen master. So this is totally different. Although we cannot just observe the phenomenon to judge the computer game is samadhi or not. But however, is the mind status, the focus, concentration status is the key point. Here's my answer.
So it's not what you are doing,
Yes.
but the quality of attention.
Yes, or the concentration. Is peace steady, stable, some kind of very strong? Yeah, that's what we're going to say sati, like that. Mindful.
Right. So when the Zen masters talk about the practicing meditation with everything that they do, are they practicing samadhi, or are they practicing sati, mindfulness? For example, if I'm washing the dishes, I can wash the dishes, but my mind is off thinking about things, or I can wash the dishes as a meditation itself. At that moment that I'm practicing while I'm washing the dishes, is that samadhi or is that sati, mindfulness?
Mindfulness.
Okay.
Sati as a sati.
Okay. So in Zen, when what you are talking about of being practicing meditation with everything, it seems to be that you're saying that's going to be mindfulness practice rather than samadhi practice. But can you have samadhi on washing the dishes? Can you have samadhi on mowing the lawn?
Yeah, sometimes you can feel the flow.
Okay.
Your mind and consciousness are moving together with your action, without any attachment. Just follow all the action, follow all the object, your mind and the phenomena, your heart and the object is like coherence, yoga. So shall we call it a sati or samadhi? I think this is a kind of sati.
Usually with sati, sati will go together with samadhi anyway, to some degree, right? You have to have some degree. Here's my question, expand the question. Samadhi is translated as concentration. However, my suggestion to you is this might not be a good translation, because we can concentrate on things, but we don't call it samadhi practice, samadhi meditation practice. For example, if you're driving a car or you're fishing or you are playing a computer game, we can say in the English word concentration, or even the Thai word samadhi, we can say that the person has concentration, but they are not practicing samadhi. So here's another example. When I'm reading my book, I'm concentrating on the book. I'm making an effort to keep my attention on the book. So in the English sense of the word, I'm definitely practicing concentration, but I'm not practicing samadhi. This is not a samadhi meditation practice that I'm doing when I'm reading the book. So what is the difference between concentration and samadhi?
How about one-pointedness?
Okay. I think it was you or somebody said unification on one object. Let me correct my spelling. One-pointedness. Ekagata. You have also ekabhava. These two words, ekagata and ekabhava, means one-pointed. So my question then, the kid playing the computer game, is he one-pointed or not?
One-pointed, in my opinion.
No,
Anybody else?
no, not exactly, because he pay attention on the shooting, on the running, but he pay attention on computer game entire like scenario, or yeah, that's a lot of thoughts going on. Yeah, in here, yeah, really different than one point is.
In my opinion, the playing game boys is focused on one point and is only win, only winning. Winning.
Right, but as he's playing the game, he might just want to win, but he has to run, he has to shoot, he has to jump, he has to duck, he has to collect points, he has to control the mouse, he has to control the keyboard. I mean, he's really doing a lot of things. This is definitely not one-pointedness. So what does one-pointedness mean? Ekaggata, one-pointedness, what does that mean?
To
Yes.
restrict the senses, to restrain senses, could be.
Focus on one point and remain as same state, like continue focus continuously. Yeah,
Focus
like
continuously.
yeah.
Okay. I want to just go back to restraint of the senses, because this is a key part of how the Buddha actually taught meditation. That one enters into concentration, into samadhi, by restraining the senses rather than by focusing on an object. This is a really intricate point, and something that I use in my own practice and my own teaching a lot, but maybe going a little bit too far into it. Remember, right now we're trying to explain to a 14-year-old school kid what is samadhi. We've talked to them a little bit about vipassana, so we want to draw a distinction between vipassana and samadhi. So we're just trying to explain to them what samadhi is. So far, we have a lot of confusing different things and different ideas, but nobody so far has actually managed to come out with a single clear, nice sentence about what samadhi actually is. Some of the people I haven't heard from, Yi Guisiu, Yusho Wang, Nguyen Ho Tong. Man, I'm really pronounce your names badly. Are you all asleep? Where are you, other guys? Yes, go ahead. Sumi, we can't hear you.
Yeah, but my English not so good. But I want to description concentration like movies, like 2D movies. Somebody I think like now 4D movies. I don't know how to use words description. I don't know. I think difference, but I don't know how to use words description. Maybe I can translate.
Okay. Or
Sorry,
you can
my
write it
English not-
down. You can write down your idea into the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
What time do you go to in the afternoon? Is it 3:30 or 4:30?
The schedule said 4:30.
Ah, that's a long
Yeah,
session.
but it depends on you.
Ah, okay. Okay, if I can give my idea on this and see what you think. The English word to concentrate on something, which includes the Thai word for samadhi. Remember, in Thai, they use a lot of Pali words, but change the meaning. So the Thai word, the Pali word in Thai may have a different meaning to the original Pali sometimes. So the English word to concentrate on something would mean that you are fixing your attention on a single task. For example, you're driving the car, you are playing a computer game. But the thing that you are concentrating on is constantly moving and changing. So when the kid is playing the computer game, he has to run, he has to jump, he has to hide, he has to shoot his gun, he's using the keyboard, he's using the mouse. So what he's concentrating on is constantly moving. And that's why it's not samadhi in the sense of meditation. This is not a meditation that he's doing. And we cannot consider it to be samma samadhi. The Buddha would not recognize playing a computer game as being samma samadhi, right? Concentration. When we see concentration arise in the sutta, in the scripture, it always means fixing the mind onto a single object. For example, just the breath or the color kasinas, which are blue and yellow and white, not red. You're not allowed to use red color. Or light kasina, or the idea of metta, loving kindness. We're fixing the mind onto a single thing. We're not putting the mind onto something that's moving. So the kid is playing the computer game. Sure, he has concentration in the English sense of the word. He's concentrated on what he is doing. But in no sense is he practicing a kind of meditation. So I think there's a couple of things that people actually mentioned here, if you can see this word, unification on one object. So the mind unifies on one single object. That object can't be moving. It can't be changing the whole time. Otherwise, you're not having samadhi. So unification, one-pointedness. Again, driving a car, sure, I can concentrate on driving the car, but I have to steer left and right. I have to indicate, speed up and slow down. I have to move in between other traffic. So what I'm concentrating on is constantly moving. Therefore, it is not a samadhi practice. When we're talking about meditation, when we talk about samadhi, we are talking specifically about fixing the mind onto one particular object and not allowing it to move. That object has to be stationary. Even the breath, as the breath comes in and the breath goes out, if you concentrate on it to a very high degree, even the breath will come up as a nimitta, as a sign called a counterpoint sign, but a nimitta, which means an unmoving understanding of the object of breath. Then the mind will clamp down and stop completely still. When we're playing a computer game, we're driving a car, even when we're going fishing, the mind never stops still on the object. So, yes, concentration we can have in different ways, but when we talk about meditation and we use the word samadhi, the way that the Buddha used it, specifically the mind has to stop still. If the mind doesn't stop still, you may have concentration, but you definitely do not have samadhi. So I'm going to add stop still as a very crucial part of the description of samadhi. Now, the suttas describe samadhi, kanika samadhi. Kana means moment, so moment to moment concentration. If we are practicing, for example, walking meditation, certainly you feel like the mind enters into a samadhi state because you stop thinking about this and that, and the mind stops wandering away. But even the feet are a moving object. So they talk about kanika samadhi, which means moment to moment, you know what is happening directly in the present moment. The mind is not wandering away, is not getting lost, is not getting caught up in what it's doing, but is knowing from moment to moment, second to second. So this appears especially in Visuddhimagga, it talks about this. But when we see samadhi in the scripture, in the sutta, almost every time that kind of samadhi is talking about jhana, which means when we enter into concentration on a single object and the mind stops still on that object, then we are in going into these jhana or absorption states. There are 4 of these jhanas that somebody mentioned 4. I think in Abhidhamma actually lists it as 5, but is the same idea. The first one, if I can put it in here, is applied and sustained attention. The second one is piti, which means rapture. The third one is sukha. And the fourth one is upeka, equanimity. So when we're talking about samadhi in Buddhism, really we are talking about these 4 states of absorption. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this, but I think for our discussion, for a simple discussion or a simple definition on samadhi, these 4 are enough. There are, by the way, 4 further jhanas. I presume that you've studied this or seen this around, but there was number 5 was infinite space, and number 6 was infinite consciousness, and number 7 was and number 8 was, I always forget number 7 and 8, which way around they are. I may have got that wrong. The 5, 6, 7, and 8, I move to one side, according to the sutta, are more optional. So usually when the Buddha recommends the practice of samadhi, he's only going up to the first 4 of these jhanas, first 4 of these concentration states. So we have a working definition here. Is that enough for you to write down 3 sentences to describe samatha, samadhi, concentration, meditation? Note the difference between concentration and concentration meditation, not the same. So concentration, reading a book, playing a game, sure. But concentration meditation, which we call samadhi, necessitates having a single object.
Yes.
Okay, can I leave you for 15 minutes to write down your definition for samatha, for samadhi? Write it down and put into the chat. Okay, so let me find the sheet. I have to make a note of everybody who participated. So if you're all ready, we can look through some of your thoughts. I think samadhi is focus. I mean, our mind focusing one thing in that moment. Okay, nice, short, simple thing. We have to be careful with the word thing. I'm reading from the chat now. So let's go by the number 6045. There's the last four numbers. And he said one thing at a time. We have to be careful with the word thing, because we can say driving is a thing. If I'm concentrated on driving my car or playing my game, is that a thing? So we should be careful not to use the word thing. We should use meditation object, because there are many things in the universe. I can concentrate on Donald Trump. He is a thing, but certainly I will not be practicing samatha meditation. So we have to be careful with the word thing. We are focusing on a meditation object specifically. There are, according to the Visuddhimagga, 40 different meditation objects. These include various body reflections, that is, body that is dying, a body that is dead, a body that is decaying, a body that is decayed to just bones. I think there are 9 levels of dead bodies. We have kasina, which are yellow, blue, green, white. We have aloka kasina, which is light kasina. We have space kasina, agasa, space kasina, or the object of space. There are the 4 Brahma Viharas of metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, loving kindness, sympathetic joy, compassion, and equanimity. These can also be used as meditation objects. So according to Visuddhimagga, there are 40 different meditation objects that are suitable to be used. So note that meditation, we can't just use anything as a meditation object. It needs to be specifically something one-pointed that we can fix the mind on, so the mind stops moving. The kid playing the computer game, his mind is continuously moving, and that's why he's not practicing samadhi in the sense of Buddhism. Again, we'll note he is practicing concentration in the English sense of the word, but it's definitely not samadhi meditation. Okay, so 6037. We didn't see your statement this morning. Samadhi is a state of unity of body, mind, and soul with the objects you care about. You are the world, and the world is you. You are the world, and the world is you. The universe is one. Understanding concentration is like the picture quality of a 2D movie. And understanding concentration is like a picture quality of a 2D movie. And samadhi is like the picture quality of a 4D movie. I'm not sure what a 4D movie looks like. It's difficult to describe and distinguish between these two types of movies before watching them. Only after experiencing them can you know the difference. Therefore, only those who practice samadhi and concentration regularly can know that their essences are different. Some experiences can only be understood, but not expressed in words. The central point that you're making here is a good point, that samadhi meditation is something that can only really be known about by doing it. You can't really describe what samadhi is. You can't really describe what jhana is or concentration. It's something that you only can know once you do it. So that's definitely a part of samadhi. Is one of the qualities is you know it by doing it. It's not something that you can know by describing it. For example, I can describe to you what a UTR is like, and you will get some idea of what a UTR is like. But you cannot describe concentration. You can only know it by doing it, directly. Like eating licorice. Do you know licorice? One of my favorite sweets is a kind of candy in Britain, but you can't describe it. You have to eat it. Well, this stuff here, Virat knows what this is like. This is English food, and it tastes like salt, but I can't explain how fantastically beautiful and wonderful this stuff is. It's called Marmite. So yeah, concentration is like that. You have to do it. You can't just explain what it's like. Other things you can explain by concept, right? Most things in the world can be explained in concepts. I can tell you how to build a bridge. I can tell you how to fly an airplane. All these things we can explain by concept, but samadhi is something that has to be experienced. 6010. Let me just write down your name in the sheet. I have to do a attendance. So this Kunvirat. Samadhi is a state of deep concentration where the mind becomes fully focused, stops still, and becomes peaceful. It happens when you take control of your mind such that you feel calm, clear, and deeply aware of a single stable object. This mental stillness brings inner joy and insight wisdom. I think that may be better than my explanation. There's really good explanation. Everything is there. Focus of the mind, stopping still, and peace, take control, a single object. And it does lead to both joy, piti, and insight, wisdom. So that's a really nice description. I think anybody, the nice thing, like all short, simple, clear words, right, that he has used here. I take it you can all see the chat, right? Short, clear, simple words. I think anybody can understand that. No jargon. That's the kind of explanation that we are trying to get to. So next up, I have to find you on the register. I was given the wrong register, so 6023, there we go. So Miss Mie Kang says, samadhi is the state of mind as meditative absorption like jhana and emptiness, or powerful energy through samatha practice by focusing on one object, aramana, like one-pointedness to lead to sati, mindfulness, and insight. You mentioned something here. One, you mentioned jhana. So remember, we should try to steer clear of technical terms like jhana, unless you're talking to other people who know these terms. One thing that she mentions here is powerful. And one of the consequences of concentration meditation, according to the Buddha, is the mind gains an absolute power, becomes extremely powerful. And the Buddha said it was like a team of horses who are fresh, rested, they've been given water, they've been given food, and now they are attached to a chariot and they're waiting at the crossroads. And as soon as the master comes along and gets into the chariot, the horses are ready and eager to charge off in whatever direction the master tells them to go. The Buddha himself used this analogy. He said, after practicing concentration meditation, your mind is like this, becomes extremely powerful. And whatever you turn your attention to, the mind has a lot of power into doing that. So he said, you should turn the mind to remembering past lives, turn the mind to knowing heaven and hell. But whatever practice it is that you're doing, if you have practiced samadhi, the mind becomes powerful. So this is one of the key terms that the Buddha used, was powerful. She also used the word aramana. I like this. She says, focus on one object and then puts in brackets aramana. Personally, I like to do this. If I use a technical term, I want to use the English so everyone can understand, but I like to put the Pali word in brackets so people know what word that I'm talking about. Aramana in Thai is a good example of a word that changes the meaning, because in Thai, the word aramana is arom. And arom means mood, but usually it means a bad mood. If someone has a arom, it means they're in a bad mood. And somebody who is a jau arom means they're very moody and can't control their mind. So aramana is a good example. In the Pali, aramana just means the object of attention. So you have citta, mind, and aramana, which is the thing that's known. You must have both mind and something that's known. You cannot have citta without an object, and you cannot have an object without the citta. Unless you're enlightened. There is one sutta the Buddha describes enlightenment as Jit Anaramana. This is in the Pabhasara Sutta. the Buddha says, Jit anaramana, the jitta without an object, he describes as this is nibbana or enlightenment. So until we're enlightened, the jitta will always have a ramana, or the mind will always have an object of attention. Like I say, in Thai, a ramana becomes a rom, and a rom has a slightly different meaning in the Thai word. Did you know this, Kunwirat? A ramana is the root word of the Thai word arom.
Correct. And then, as you said, as you mentioned, normally people interpret it as a bad mood, a negative emotion.
Right. So sometimes these words, they change meaning, which is one reason we have to be careful with translation. You'll note here, I hope I made clear that we translate samadhi as concentration, but it actually is not the same thing. Concentration, I can concentrate on a computer game, I can concentrate on my book, but I'm not in samadhi meditation when I'm reading my book or playing the computer. So the word concentration is not an accurate translation of the word samadhi. And this is quite important, especially for non-native English speakers, because you're given these words like, oh, samadhi means concentration. So in your mind, you think it's the same thing. But actually, the English word has a different meaning to the original Pali word. And this happens a lot. Go ahead, Emma.
Yes. Do you have any word that describe better than concentration? Any word in English?
No, I think concentration is probably the best word. We can say one-pointed is a good translation, one-pointed. But really, we have to describe to people what you are doing, to say, focus on one particular stationary object. Then, yes, you learn by experience. A lot of the Pali words don't translate very well. And sometimes the original, some like mindfulness, which we come on to next today. Mindfulness is not really a good translation of the word sati. And these days people talk about mindful swimming, mindful horse riding, mindful this, mindful that. And the word is changed. It's not what was meant by sati sampajanya. Okay, 6019. Let me come up and check your name off. Samadhi is a deep state of mental focus on only one object. It happens when the mind becomes fully absorbed in meditation without distractions. This state brings great peace, clarity, and sometimes spiritual enlightenment. Yes. Does samadhi bring about enlightenment? This is an interesting question. It's more than we can go on to today, but there is a discussion within Buddhism whether concentration is necessary or not. Okay, good. Samadhi 043. Just need to check your name on the register. I don't call the register, but okay. Samadhi is the concentration practice. Yes. Personally, I think this is right. Concentration practice. We are concentrating, but it's deliberately a meditation practice, right? To keep the mind still on one object. This will achieve calm and high quality of status of mind that leads clearly to see wisdom, like the water flowing from the tap to a water bucket, more and more clean and more steady. Personally, I like the use of metaphor. So the idea of the water flowing directly into the bucket, attention will flow directly onto the one object and become steady. The word steady is really good too, because it distinguishes between reading a book or playing a computer game. Then the mind is not steady. Here was my description. Samadhi is a kind of meditation where attention is focused continuously on a single meditation object until it stops still. Deep states of absorption can be attained doing this kind of practice. According to Buddhism, this is a good practice to do, but does not lead directly to enlightenment. For that, one must also practice wisdom. Further, samadhi meditation should be supported by proper morality and restraint of greed, hatred, and delusion. The last part I put in order to distinguish samma samadhi rather than miccha samadhi. So that was what I came up with today. 6003. Which is Emma. Samadhi is a meditation practice where the mind is trained to remain focused on a single stable object. The goal is to stabilize the mind and reduce hindrances. Yeah. I would mention probably more than we need to discuss, but in order to go into jhana, one has to remove hindrances at that moment. So at the moment when the 5 hindrances are removed, then one enters into jhana. However, samadhi can, there are different levels of samadhi, right? You can have weak samadhi, better and better. Samadhi is to train your mind on a single object to be focused and concentrated and still without moving. All states of mind with samadhi are wholesome states. Feelings with samadhi are calm, peaceful, and happy. Are all states of samadhi wholesome states? There is some discussion on this topic. I would agree, because the mind is purified. However, there is such a thing as miccha samadhi, which we can talk about if you want. But so just to note that, there is miccha samadhi also, or unwholesome concentration. Samadhi is to train your mind on a single object to be focused and concentrated and still without moving. All states of mind of samadhi are wholesome states. We did that. 041. I can enter your name on the register. Samadhi is like super focused mode of the mind. But samadhi is not just concentration. It is deeper and more stable than ordinary concentration. And the heart is completely clear and quiet, without tension, stress, or excitement, but like a calm lake. I like this answer because it uses ordinary language. The mind is without stress or excitement or tension. I would mention one thing to just between you people here, but as the mind enters into jhana, I want to be clear. The mind doesn't become still and peaceful. It becomes highly energized. So as the mind concentrates, especially as you come to second jhana, piti, when the piti comes up, it comes up in a highly energized state through the body. And you can actually experience this in Qigong too, especially with standing Qigong. The piti comes as an energization through the center of the body and will bring your body up, very alert, very powerful, very strong, very bright. Going into deep concentration is a highly energetic state. This is not going calm and peaceful and everything starts to disappear. That is wrong concentration, which we will see shortly as we look at the Tibetan form. So yeah, jhana or high concentration is a highly energized state. Piti is a rapture that will, your mind becomes extremely bright, extremely powerful, extremely alert. A pleasant feeling, energetic feeling runs through the body. So samadhi is not about being calm and peaceful. I want to make that clear. I went wrong with this for a long time in my own practice because no one explained it to me. Okay, everybody good on samadhi? I think we all got to the same kind of conclusion, right? And we got some nice thing. Can you explain the difference between samadhi and sama samadhi? Thanks, Ajahn. Okay. There are two kinds of wrong concentration. Miccha, which is the opposite to samma, right? So I'll put this into the chat so you can see it. Miccha is like wrong, and samma is translated as right. So miccha samadhi is samadhi that is not supported by sammaditthi and not supported by sila. So if you have bad morals or you have wrong view, you can still attain to high states of concentration. However, they are counted as wrong or miccha samadhi. The main example for this was Devadatta, the Buddha's cousin, who tried to kill the Buddha several times. So Devadatta was not practicing samma samadhi, but he did have concentration. He could enter into jhana states, and he had the psychic powers and the high attainment from concentration. But this is considered miccha samadhi, wrong samadhi, because not supported by sila, not supported by sammaditthi, sammavayama. So that's one kind of wrong samadhi in Theravada. In Tibetan, and I'm actually going to ask Kunwirat to see if he knows, if he can explain this. There is a diagram of the monkey, the elephant, the monk, and they're walking up the path. Now, he actually works a lot at the BIA, and the BIA have a big picture of this on the wall. So I'm not sure if you're accustomed to explaining the different parts of that picture.
Yes, that the painting from Dalai Lama given to Ajahn Buddhadasa. It talking about the 9 state of the samatha meditation, right, according to the Vajra jhana. In the painting, they have a monkey, they have an elephant. That's a metaphor of our mind. When we when Yoga Vajon trying to practice his mind, at the beginning he have to use the lob. The lob is in order to hang to the mind, because the mind is stand still. But when we develop this meditation state, our mind become calmer and calmer, and then we can control our mind. We can lead our mind without the lob anymore. So that's why that in Pali term they said when we practice our mind is going to give the good return to us. So that's roughly about the overview of it. Yeah.
I'm trying to find a good example of the picture. I found one, but it won't allow me to. Oh, there we go. Now I can do it.
I have one. I will send to the note now. Okay.
Yeah, put it into the chat.
Cool.
Because there's something in there that I want to point out, because I'm trying to find a good example. It's a very classic picture within Tibetan Buddhism. And I'm going to okay, I have one example I can show you. Let me stop sharing for the screen. Then I need to open the
Pandit, I sent one in the chat box.
okay. I got one. I'm not sure which one you're doing there. I got one here. I think I can share with you. So this image is a well-known image. So there are many versions of it, but they all have the same thing. So down at the bottom here, you can see there is a monk here with a stick and a rope, and he's trying to catch the elephant. But the elephant is being led by the monkey. I'm not sure if Kumirat, you had a better version of this, more clear. So the monk with the rope is trying to catch the elephant, and then the monkey is leading everything. And there's a big fire here. So the elephant represents the mind. The monkey represents the monkey mind. You're being led by thinking, or papancha. And the monk, he's trying to do his practice, but he can't catch hold of the elephant. The rope is in his hand. He can't catch hold of it. So as they come up to the second part up here, the monk is getting a little bit closer to the elephant. The monkey has calmed down over here. You can see this, right? The monkey isn't running around as he was earlier. The monkey's calmed down. And the elephant is getting a white head. Now, the elephant represents the mind. So the mind is being purified. So we're just starting to get a little bit of the purification of the mind in part 2. Level 3 here over on the right-hand side, the monk has got the rope around the elephant, but the mind or the elephant is still in charge and is dragging the monk around. However, the elephant's head is now completely white. It's difficult to see on my picture. Maybe I'll switch to Kumlirat's picture. But on the back of the elephant right here is actually a hair as in a rabbit. Now, the hair is always considered to be like crazy or wrong whenever you see a hare in mythology, because it runs around in the field and it goes left and right and jumps up and down and it's not stable. So this here represents wrong samadhi. This means when the mind is starting to calm down in meditation, the mind kind of goes dull and you get like you've got used to the posture, you get into the breathing, and then part of the mind goes to sleep. And you enter into a fairly pleasant state of mind, but it's not energetic, it's not powerful, it's not really concentrated. It's just gone down, it's got squashed down. This is the wrong or fake samadhi, the wrong samadhi. In the next thing, you'll see the hair on the back of the elephant is starting to turn white, which means it's purifying. And more of the elephant has turned white. So the mind is getting more and more purified. The monk is catching up with the elephant at this stage. The next stage up here, you see the monk is leading the elephant now, which means you have got control of the mind and the mind is being purified. And you see the hair on the back of the elephant is also being purified here. This hair, again, is miccha samadhi. That was the question. Wrong samadhi or fake samadhi. The experience of this in meditation, when the mind goes calm, but it goes dull. The mind is not bright, is not energetic. Everything kind of calms down and your breath goes in and out. And then, you know, when the bell goes at the end of the meditation, you're not quite sure, were you meditating or not? Were you awake or were you not? So this is fake samadhi or wrong samadhi. Note that it is part of the path. So if you enter into this kind of dull but concentrated state, it's a good stage that you are going through, but it's not actually proper samadhi. The next stage up here, the monk, he doesn't need to control the elephant anymore. He's got rid of the rope. So he's no longer needing to put in effort to concentrate or to purify the mind. And the monkey is now completely under his control. The monkey is almost all white. The elephant is almost all white, signifies the purification of consciousness. Now the next stage, the monk is leading the elephant. The hair is gone. Once the mind is purified, there is no longer this fake concentration. The monk no longer needs a rope or a stick. Finally, at the top here, on the top right-hand side, you see in the hand of the monk, there is a sword. And this is the sword of Vipassana, the sword of insight. So in the Tibetan system of 9 stages of samadhi, insight or Vipassana comes after practicing concentration, not before. Anything I missed out? Can we wrap from this diagram? I think you know it better than I know it.
This is so-called the 9th step, the 9th step of calm meditation. So if you count the 11, there will be starting from the back, the first one is the back, up until it's 5. You will count the 9, 11. So that depends on the step by step of the mind development. So that's one thing. So you count 9 already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they got 9 altogether. 9, 11.
Okay. This guy up in the top left, why is he flying?
It's the same as you explained. When the people first develop the samatha, they can further develop it to be vipassana about the wisdoms. So that's why they start flying. the Yogavajron start flying. Second thing, the 5. If we look at the 5 at the beginning, the 5 is very strong. The 5 here is represent the effort. At the beginning, at the beginning of the practice meditation, we need a lot of effort. We need to put a lot of strong 5 in order. 5 here is our effort. And then along the way that we practice, when our mind is more calm, we use less effort up until at the end. There's no effort at all.
Right. The fire, yeah, the fire is large down at the bottom here. Then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then smaller, then it disappears. After some time of practicing, especially as you get into biti, into the rapture comes through the body, because it's quite pleasant, it actually draws you in. And so you don't need to make a strong effort of control because the mind wants to go there. But I notice at the top on the right, there's the fire reappears at the top. So I presume this is when you're practicing vipassana, you have an effort again.
Yes.
In the diagram that I have, the fire reappears. Let me just check with your oh, there we go. I can download it. Okay. If you are interested, this one, in fact, I think the version that you've given us there, you gave a PNG. I'm not sure I can open it. Oh yeah, I can do this way. The one you gave us, is that the one at BIA?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I can go to share and I can go 9 stages and share. Okay, you should be able to see this. So this is the one that you will find at the Buddhadasa Indapano archives in Chatuchak Park. And you'll often find Kunwirat there explaining it. I've seen the photos of you explaining this diagram to people. So yeah, again, the monk down the bottom is chasing the elephant, the big fire, smaller fire. Now the rabbit appears, the hare appears here. This is fake samadhi or wrong concentration. And then the hare becomes purified and then disappears altogether. Yeah. Again, you have this monk flying up here. Is it interesting? I think it might represent the psychic powers, apinya.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. And then also on the left side, Pandit, you can see the tree. The tree there's a white monk.
Yeah.
So then here is represent that for some people, when they attend the absorption state, they're not going through the vipassana. So their mind is become Brahma. They become Brahma, not attend to the enlightenment.
Okay.
So many people, when they stuck in the absorption or jhana, they attend another thing. Same as the 2 ajahn of Lord Buddha,
Right.
that he study Uttokada Alara, that I mean here in this painting, it represents a white monk that attached to the fruit.
The white monkey.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, he's attached to the fruit in the tree. I see. Yeah. Okay. Huh, that's good. You gave me some extra knowledge I didn't know about this picture. Top right-hand corner, everyone, you can see again, this is where the sword comes. Vipassana is considered a sword because Vipassana can cut through delusion. So the sword of Vipassana will expose what is real and what is not real, like a sword will cut through delusion. So, yeah. So good. If you want to see this painting in the full thing, is on display at the Buddhadasa Indapano archives in Chatuchak Park. Okay. Yeah, I did notice in my picture, at least, there were 11 elephants, but I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm not sure how they count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, oh, there are 10 in that picture. Yeah.
Pandit, the first 9, 11, it represents samatha. And then up until the mind is white already, that represent the vipassana. So
Okay.
the first 9, 11, because the painting name is called 9 step of calm meditation.
Right.
And then the monk that wearing white at the bottom, that the Milarepa. Milarepa is the white set Lama. The Tibetan people believe that he enlightenment in one lifetime in order to help people from the suffering. Yeah,
that makes sense, because the 9th elephant in my picture was the elephant is sitting down with the monk on the ground, representing samadhi, that everything is stopped. Then the monk gets on the back of the elephant. Okay, guys, I was thinking we can take a break, take a 10-minute break, go to the bathroom, and then come back, and then we can finish, I don't know, around 4:15 or something, finish slightly early. So take a break, make some coffee, and I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Okay?
Thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Kumirat put a link in the chat with a explanation of the 9 stages of samatha in Tibetan Buddhism. So this is a very classic diagram, and we'll note that this does come from Tibetan Buddhism rather than Theravada, so you won't find this stated in exactly this way in Theravada, but it's all the same. We have the same mind, the same practices. A couple of things that I wanted to make clear, because these weren't made clear to me when I was practicing. As the mind will focus on one thing at a time. I can give you an example. A fascinating example. You can here's an example of something to look at. In this video, there is a woman who can paint 6 pictures or draw 6 pictures at the same time. Look at it afterwards. No need to look at it right now, but she's drawing pictures with her hands and with her feet at the same time. But is it possible to do more than one thing at a time? For a deep explanation of this, we actually have to go to psychology. and namely Gestalt psychology, which is my area of expertise. In short, the mind will build objects. So, for example, a chair. Is a chair 4 legs, a base and a back, or is it one thing, a chair? A chariot, is it the wheels, the base, the cart, the sides? Is that one thing, or is that many things? So the mind will actually gestalt, in the terms of psychology, will make objects out of things. When you look at this video, even though this girl is drawing 6 different pictures at the same time, she says partway through the video that her mind has to go to one picture and then to another and then to another. So her mind is still working on one picture at a time. So this is what happens. The mind will continuously go to one object, one object, one object. If you're walking, it will go to walking. If you're driving a car, it will go to driving. If you're driving a car, but then you start thinking about your family or thinking about dinner, then your mind goes to dinner. And the mind goes to one thing at a time. But as you practice meditation, you hold the mind in restraint. So the mind doesn't go to anything at all. This is concentration or jhana without an object. It's important to note you can enter into high states of concentration without an object of attention. As this happens, you will find that the mind will latch onto, suddenly will stop the feeling of going to the eye, the ear, the nose, the body, the mind, and suddenly becomes self-knowing or self-aware. Usually the head will come up, and you'll see people meditating like this as they're starting to center themselves. All sleepiness or tiredness is banished at this point. You become intensified awareness, but no object of attention. And this is actually going into the jhana states. If you hold the mind in that intensified awareness, there is a feeling of brightness or luminosity. There's a feeling of coming together, this body being like the only thing in the universe. There's a feeling of centering that you can feel when the mind starts to go out and when the attention has come back. Intensification, the piti arises from the center of the body, will come through the body, and is a tightening of attention. Consciousness becomes diffuse throughout the body. The Buddha described it like honey being mixed with flour. If you mix the honey in the flour, after a while, the honey is completely diffused throughout the flour. Flour as in beng, right? As in corn flour, wheat flour. So attention or consciousness becomes diffused through the body. You have a strong body awareness. Piti then becomes a rapture. They call rapture, but it's not rapture of the mind. It's a rapture, is a energization through the body. And you feel this. You can feel what intensifies it, and you can feel when it dissipates. This is your guide to concentration meditation. You don't need to have the mind on objects. I'm bringing this up because I was not really taught in the right way about concentration. I didn't know when I was entering into it and when I wasn't. So these are the signposts. The body will sit upright by itself. A brightening or luminous mind will arise. An intensification of consciousness, all sleepiness gets banished. And then the piti, the rapture, will come as an energization through the body. So these are some of the signposts. If you start to experience these things, I want you to be able to recognize it and be able to go into that practice. Since we've been talking more about concentration than I intended to do, I'm going to share the screen onto so here is the one example of when the Buddha described the entire path, just to get some of the relationship between concentration and vipassana or insight. This is the shorter simile on the elephant's footprints. Chula hati pamo chula hati pado pamasutta. Majjhima Nikaya number 27. So you can look this up if you need to. I like this particular version. This is actually Bhante Sujato. He does it. I like the way he does it because he puts the English and then the Pali line by line. And you can actually click on the Pali and you can get the translation, and most of the words, you can get a translation of the Pali word. In this sutta, we can flip on most of the way, but there was the one Brahmin, he went to see the Buddha, and the Buddha gave him a description of the path to enlightenment that goes in 10 stages. So he goes to the Buddha, he pays homage to the Buddha. See if I can use my mouse. So he gives respects to the Buddha and exchange greetings with him, and ask him about the elephant's footprint. Now, the elephant is the biggest footprint in the jungle. So what that means is the Buddha's teaching contains all other teachings, in the same way as the elephant's footprint contains the footprint of all other animals. A lion or a tiger, its footprints are smaller than the elephant. So this Brahmin is asking the Buddha what the symbolism means for a large bull elephant. Now, it's quite a long sutta. You can read it yourself at your leisure. But the first thing that he realizes, or the first of the 10 parts of the path, is you gain faith in the Buddha. So you have to have heard about the Buddha, you have to have heard about the teaching in order to be able to get into the practice. If you have never heard about the teaching of a Buddha, your chances of becoming enlightened are very slim. There is a thing called a Pacceka Buddha, and Pacceka means accidental. And accidental means that they have come across enlightenment by accident and not by practicing the teaching of a Buddha. So some people can become enlightened, but for the rest of us, we have to have heard about the Buddha. We have to have gained faith in the Buddha. So number one, we learn that there is such a thing as an enlightened person, and we gain faith in that. Second thing that happens is, according to this sutta, and remember, different suttas can vary these steps. In this sutta, he says the next step is to go forth and become a monk. So having gained faith, he thinks, why don't I shave off my hair and beard, dress in the monk's robes, and change from lay life? Homelessness means the ordained life. So one becomes a monk, gives up their money, gives up their family circle, shave off their hair, and they dress in the robes. The next stage is they take the 8 precepts. Now, at this time, the monks only had 8 precepts. This is before the Vinaya. Now monks have a lot of precepts. Originally, only had 8. So he gives up the killing of creatures. He dwells with a heart that's kind and full of sympathy for living beings. They give up stealing. They take only what's given. They keep themselves clean or pure by not stealing. They give up unchastity. That is, they lead the celibate or life, which is apart from sexual activity. They take the precepts of right speech by giving up lying, giving up divisive speech, giving up harsh speech, and giving up nonsense or gossip speech. So 4 kinds of samma vaja. Refrain from injuring plants, eating in the wrong part of the day, singing, dancing, music, beautifying, etc. So all of these are precepts for monks. They refrain from running errands, buying and selling, weights, metals, measures, bribery, fraud, cheating, duplicity, all kinds of wrong livelihood. So that's the next stage. You hear about the Buddha, you ordain as a monk, you take the precepts. Then they practice contentment with little, which means you practice contentment with 4 requisites. That is the robes, medicine, food, and shelter. These 4 things should be enough for a monk to practice contentment with little. I like this saying the Buddha gives. Wherever they're like a bird, wherever it flies, it takes only its wings with it. So in the same way, the monk, having ordained, just relies on robes, food, shelter, and medicine. The next thing, having done this, the next stage is this stage that's called restraint of the 6 senses. Restraint of the 6 senses. When you see a sight with the eyes, they do not get caught up in the signs and features, or the features and details, different translations of this word. If the faculty of sight was not restrained, akusala, unskillful qualities, would invade the mind. Therefore, they practice restraint regarding the eye. He practices restraint when the ear hears a sound. He practices restraint of not going out to the sound. When the nose smells an odor, he practices restraint. When they taste a flavor with the tongue, they practice restraint. When a thought occurs to the mind, they do not get caught in the signs and features of that thought, but they practice with the mind restrained. So this 6 sense door practice is a practice of restraint. And this you'll notice in Mahasi Sayadaw practice that we do, certainly in Mahajula. Remember what we do? When you hear a sound, it's just hearing a sound. You don't get caught in it. You maintain mindfulness. When you see something with the eye, it's just seeing. You don't get caught in that thing that you are looking at. So you know it's seeing, hearing, thinking, knowing, wanting. So Mahasi practice, or Vipassana practice, is centered around this practice of restraining the 6 senses. So you're getting into meditation at this point. If they have this restraint of the senses, they start to experience bliss. Yeah. you start to experience a happiness with the restraint of the senses. So the next stage, they act with awareness when going forth, looking ahead, bending, extending the limbs, carrying the outer robe, the bowl, when eating, drinking, chewing, tasting, urinating, defecating, walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking, and keeping silent. So again, if you've practiced Vipassana meditation with Mahachula University, this is what we're doing. We're practicing awareness when we walk, awareness when we speak, awareness when we stand up or sit down or carry the bowl. So knowing the Buddha, becoming a monk, taking the precepts, contentment with little, restraint of the six senses, situational awareness with the postures. Having done all of this, then he goes, finds a suitable place and sits down with the body straight and establishes mindfulness. The next thing, if you can, I'm not sure how much you can see here, we can get on screen. Once you sit down and start doing this kind of meditation, these five are the five hindrances. So first of all, you give up greed. Second of all, you give up ill will. Third of all, drowsiness and dullness. Fourth, restlessness. And fifth, doubt. So these are the five nivarana that Venerable mentioned earlier, or the five hindrances. Doing the meditation is a practice of stopping those five hindrances in the meditation. So you can see down here, they give up these five hindrances, the corruptions of heart that weaken wisdom. But he says the noble disciple still has not finished his work to do. After giving up the five hindrances or overcoming the five hindrances, he enters into the jhanas, into jhana practice. By keeping the mind and keeping it connected, that is vittaka vichara, the first jhana. Which Bhante Sujato here translates as absorption. So one enters into four jhanas, four jhana states, four absorption states. This is what the Buddha called a footprint of the Buddha. So here we go. Fourth absorption, fourth jhana. Okay. So after practicing restraint of the senses, mindfulness of the movements, overcoming the five hindrances, practicing the four jhanas, their mind becomes immersed now in samadhi, in concentration. It is purified. So if you want the Pali words, parisuddhe is purified, is bright, spotless, without defilement. Most importantly, the mind becomes gammaniye, means ready to do work. This is what I talked about when the mind becomes empowered. Because of the jhana, because of concentration, the mind becomes very powerful. And he extends it towards the recollection of past lives. That's what the Buddha did in the first watch of the night. In the second watch of the night, or the second power that he gets, understand how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. So the second abhinya, supernormal power, is you see heavens and hells and the karma that beings do to be born in heavens and hells. Then the third one, they turn the attention, the third power is they turn the attention to the ending of defilements. So the defilements in this case is asava, this word asava, or the outflowings of the mind. So at this point, you're still not, the Buddha says, you're still not enlightened, you still not have finished, but you are well on the path. So you can read this sutta by yourself at leisure, if you wish. You have to hear about enlightenment. In this sutta, you hear about enlightenment, you become a monk, you practice contentment with little, you take the precepts, practice restraint of the senses, you practice awareness with all your movements, you overcome the hindrances, you practice the 4 jhanas, you practice the 3 abhinya or supernormal states. And at this point, the Buddha says you are well on your way to enlightenment. So this is a good example of the Buddha describing the entire path. One reason why I bring this up is there are a lot of teachers who teach a lot of things that are not necessarily in the original suttas. So I think it's important that we always keep going back to the original suttas, because there we see clearly what the Buddha laid out. So many teachers, especially the Westerners, they come out with a lot of psychology. They're talking about ego, or they're talking about anger, or talking about different things that you don't see in the original scriptures. So that is, I can put the link in for you into the chat, if I can find the chat. So that's this particular sutta. I wanted to give you one more sutta because it was brought up earlier about the monkey mind. And we saw the monkey in the diagram. This is how the Buddha originally spoke about the monkey mind. It might not be what you think. Normally, people think about the monkey mind as though I have so much thinking, I'm thinking about this and that. And when I sit to meditate, I have too much thinking. That's not monkey mind, that's papancha. Papancha is a Pali word, means the mind is scattered and thinking about things. This is the one. So the way the Buddha originally spoke about the monkey mind, he said, this body, he said, easy it is to see that the body is impermanent because it lasts for 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, but it gets old, it gets crooked, the teeth fall out, the skin turns bad, the back becomes crooked, and we get older and we die. So the Buddha says, that's why when it comes to this body, a regular person can understand that this body is impermanent. But when it comes to the thing called mind, sentience, and consciousness, if you want the Pali words, that is Citta, Vijnana, it's difficult to see that this is impermanent because for a long time they have mistaken this mind to being me, myself, or mine. So here he says it clearly. This body lasts for a year, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 50, or 100 years, or even longer. But we can see it as impermanent. But that which is called mind, sentience, and consciousness arises as one thing and ceases as another all day and all night. So the three words here, mind, sentience, and consciousness. Citta, mano, which means mental thing, and vijnanam, which means consciousness. Here he's using all three words to mean the same thing. It's like a monkey moving through the forest, grabs hold of one branch, lets go, grabs another, lets go, and grabs another. In the same way, that thing which we call mind or consciousness arises as one thing and ceases as another all day and all night. So the original teaching on the monkey mind was that all consciousness behaves in this way. It's not just that you have too much thinking. So the mind will grab one object, let go, grab another object, let go, grab another object, let go, grab another object, and let go. All of the time. And this process is what has to stop in order to enter into the higher states of concentration. So concentration is not grabbing hold of a meditation object and forcing the mind to be still. The mind becomes still without an object. So the monkey mind is the nature of all people's minds, whether you are concentrated or not concentrated. The mind is always grabbing one object, lets go, another object, lets go, and another object. When the mind grabs hold of an object, this is paticca samuppada, or dependent origination, according to this sutta. So I'll put the link to this sutta in the chat also. Yeah, so the monkey mind, originally it is a description for all states of consciousness. The way the Buddha finishes in the sutta, when you see the mind in this way, when you see the mind as being impermanent or grabbing hold of one thing after another thing, you get disillusioned. You might know this word nipita. In Thai, they translate kwam บื่อหน่าย. You get fed up, you get sick of it. In the English, they translate as disillusioned. So you get disillusioned with this mind continuously moving from object to object. Because the mind is disillusioned, it enters into viraka, or desirelessness. Raga meaning lust or desire, viraga meaning without lust, without desire. And because of this, they get vimutti, or liberation of mind. So the liberation comes when you stop grabbing hold of anything. And that's what we are doing with Vipassana. So I put the monkey sutta in also, that you can read at your own time and leisure. These suttas are somewhat difficult to read, but I would recommend that you do try and read them, because this is the actual original teaching of the Buddha. And it might well be different to the way that various teachers are teaching it. It's 4:10. I'm thinking that maybe we can call it a day for today. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a quick question. Can mind focus on two things at one time? For example, like when I look at you and then I also can hear your sound.
Right. If you want to analyze this in detail, the Buddha didn't go into a lot of detail in how the mind makes objects. I can give you a video of a Dharma talk, which I did, but I made nice graphics for it. Let me see if I can find it. And it explains how the mind makes one object at a time, and that this is dependent origination. Let me put the link into the description for you. I'm quite proud of this video. So what this means is, in Gestalt psychology, what they say is the mind will make an object or assemble one object. So, for example, a chair has four legs, has a base, and it has a back, correct? Is a chair one thing or many things? I'm asking you, what's your answer? You say a chair is one thing.
Yeah, if you say chair is one thing.
So what the mind has done is, out of those four legs, the base and the back, the mind assembles one thing out of many things and condenses it into one experience. So if you are looking at me and listening to me, this is one experience that you're doing, but it is an assembly of different inputs. Same way, for example, if you're driving a car, I'm not sure how many of you can drive, but when you learn to drive, certainly when I learned to drive, probably Kunmirat, he's even older than I am. When we were learning to drive, you had to use gears. Did you use a gears? Kunmirat, did you use gears when you learned the car, or you just doing, or you did, right? So what you have to do to pass your test, you have to be able to look in your mirrors, look forward, press the clutch, change the gear, let the clutch up, turn the steering wheel, and you're doing like 8-10 different things all at once. And when you're learning to drive, you get stuck and you can't do it. After you've learned to drive a little bit better, the mind just thinks of one thing. It thinks, I'm going to pull out. And the eye will automatically check the side mirror, the main mirror, the foot will go on the clutch, the hand will change the gear, and you'll be turning the steering wheel, but as one thing, just pulling out. Now, if you analyze it, you can say, well, I'm seeing, and I've got mirrors, and I've got feeling in my feet, and I've got the gear stick. But no, you're only doing one thing in the mind. You just think, pull out, and you do it as one action. So it seems like, and it feels like, we can attend to many different things at once, but actually we're always just doing one action or seeing one thing. I give another example, a Buddha statue. A Buddha statue, is that one thing or many things? So here we have a Buddha statue in my room. Is this one thing or many things?
One.
Because your mind is making one thing out of it. But actually, there's two eyes and two arms. There's a top knot, there's the hair, there are legs. Surely this Buddha statue is many things. So what's happening is, your mind or your attention makes an object out of it and counts it as one thing. Now, if you think philosophically, you can say, well, no, I'm aware of many things because there are two two arms, there's a nose, there are ears, there are eyes. So I'm aware of many things at once. But no, the mind actually makes a single object out of what it is looking at or out of what it is doing. You can experiment with this. You can try to feel the feeling in your right foot and listen to the sound of the air conditioner or the fan at the same time. Try doing two things. Try doing two different things at the same time. You'll realize you can't actually do it. What you're doing is you listen to the fan, then you feel the feelings in your foot, and you'll be flipping between the two. But you can't actually do the two things at the same time. So, yeah, the mind appears to do many things at once, but actually the conscious attention is just on one thing at a time. If ever you drive a car, you'll notice this, because you're driving along in the car and then suddenly you realize you've been thinking for half an hour. And then you wonder, hey, wait a minute, while I was off thinking, who was driving the car? So the unconscious mind can do many things at once, but the conscious mind only does one thing at a time. Holding the mind in restraint. This is what the practice that the Buddha was giving in the link that I just gave you. When something comes into the sight, you go to see it, you look at this Buddha statue, you look at this beautiful person, you look at something that's happening across the street. The mind gets drawn to one thing at a time. Then you go to hearing because you hear something in the background. Then you think you need the bathroom and your mind has gone to your body and you feel, oh, I need the bathroom. The mind going to one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing all the time. Yeah. So do the experiment. See if you can do two or three things at once. You look at this woman in the video I sent you. She can draw 6 pictures at the same time. But even she will say that she has to look at one picture, then another picture, then another picture, then another picture. She can't actually focus on 6 pictures at the same time. The question in the chat here, when the mind escapes, do we control it or not control it? You restrain it, you restrain the mind. When you feel the mind is escaping, you restrain it. You don't allow the mind to go anywhere or attention to go anywhere. It's a little bit different to control. Control is where you put your mind onto something and you hold it there. So I can put my attention, I can get my phone, I can get my Twitter app, and I can start looking at Twitter, and I'm holding my attention onto the object. But in meditation, you are restraining the mind to not go to anything. That's why in Vipassana we say hearing, hearing, seeing, seeing, touching, touching, wanting, wanting. Whatever it is that the mind starts to go to, we restrain it and bring it back. Yeah. Anybody else, or are we good today to end our session for the day? I have to go for chanting this evening, so I was planning to take a nap before I go. Okay, homework. Can you write like 200 words? What is Vipassana? What is Samadhi? Can you write a description for 200 words? Not long. I don't expect you to spend a long time doing this. Just 10, 15 minutes, write a description. And then tomorrow, if you can send it, and then I can check your name, we can count this as assignment. So each day we'll do this, but don't spend a long time. I don't want a long paper. You don't have to write a paper and references. Just give a nice 200-word description. What is Vipassana? What is Samadhi?